Hello students, welcome to this English class. In the previous class, we discussed the mystery of the missing cap by Professor Manutas. And we discussed about this, we discussed the story that Professor Manutas tells you about. He uses the most important and powerful weapon, what we call humor. He is at times humorous and he writes his stories and the language he uses is one of humor. And although he satirizes the follies and foibles of the society, and his motto is to bring about amendment to the follies and foibles, still then, Professor Dash wants to tell you that the social and economic issues of the society are broadly described here. Professor Manoj Das never uses any caustic words, he never uses any sarcastic words, he never uses any cutting words, he never taunts anybody else, but he describes the situation and the characters in such a way that one must feel a kind of humor. He will enjoy it, and the characters, those who are indulged in the foliage and foibles, different foliage and foibles, are exposed, and the reader comes to know about these characters. The characters, those who engage themselves in all kinds of nefarious activities, including economic and political affairs in the society, and all these things have got a place here in this story. And you know that Professor Manoj Das tells that political characters, political people like the minister Babu Birkishore, who is invited to a reception ceremony because he has just newly become the minister after the independence of the country, and his followers, you know, when there is a minister, there are followers, and the followers always try to grab benefits, to grab facilities from the powerful people, and therefore his follower Sri Maharana also is a sample specimen of how people try to extract benefits, facilities from the powerful people. So his intention was to rise into power. His intention was to rise into prominence, and therefore he wants to felicitate, he wants to draw the attention of the minister, and Sri Maharana wants to be very close to the minister, and therefore he has invited the minister to his village. And the writer has described about the village life, and the political and economic life of Sri Maharana, and how he was a very well-to-do man in the locality, and having a lot of landed property. His house was the only Pakka house in the nearby 20 villages, and it was like a tourist place. When people pass by the house, they would stand there for some time to look at the beauty of the palatial building. It is a Pakka house, and the ancestral house Sri Maharana was living in was a very beautiful one, and it was a costly house, and nobody had such a huge house in the locality, and his house was the only Pakka house in the locality. This has been described, and he also had a couple of ponds in which fish were being cultivated, and he was getting ample fish, and also he had some cows which to get ample and plenty of milk from them, and so he was a happy villager because he had everything at his disposal. He was a well-to-do man in the locality, and this is about the writer also gives the description of the economic condition of the country, because the English people had just left the country afresh, and they had exploited the country like anything, and India was left uh, in poverty. And therefore, in this connection, we would like to tell you that the story of the missing calf, the story tells you about the economic, social, and political scenario of, India. And Sri Professor Das projects the characters like Baba Bir Kishore as a representative of political people, and Sri Maharana is a representative of the followers, and the economic life is also described how, and the social system is also described how there were four major castes in India: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and along with that another caste was also emerging, was coming up, and what that was the fifth caste, and that was the caste of patriots. And it was a kind of ironically, the writer wants to tell you about the social lifestyle of our country. So in this connection, now we come to know that Mr. Maharana had he was Mr. Sri Maharana was the head of the team, the chairman of the organizing committee of the reception committee, and therefore he was organizing the reception ceremony for the minister. The minister was just coming, and he is invited to come and be a part of the ceremony, because he's the hero, he's the linchpin, the central character, he's the pivotal point, pivotal character, and therefore let's see what happens here. And the reception for minister, there is a committee, and in the committee Shri Maharana happens to be the chairman of the reception committee, and he is the chairman of the reception committee. Maharana's ancestral can chair is also another important attraction in this text, which is covered with linen and with a pair of herons on the chair. And it details volumes of the economic condition of Sri Maharana. Sri Maharana was a well-to-do man. He had a lot of landed property. He had a huge house in the locality. So all these things have got a picture, a limpid delineation is there in this text, and along with that we come to know that there was a huge ancestral chair. It was a cane chair made of cane, and a huge ancestral cane chair, and you know that a huge chair is required for the minister. And at the, these days when there is a reception and when a minister comes and he goes to the dais, there is among the chairs, the minister's chair looks prominent, and his chair it looks more important, it looks better than, it looks more interesting, and it is a bigger one, and it looks like a throne these days. But as it was, the ministry was newly formed and the government is newly formed after the independence of the country, and Sri Bir Kishore has become the first Minister of Fisheries and Fine Arts. And in this connection, we come to know that Sri Maharana has organized the reception ceremony for the minister, and there is a huge cane chair which is covered with linen, which has lion cover and having a pair of herons on it, and it shows that how political people, particularly ministers, are they become happy when they are given more importance. And as Sri Maharana tries to please the minister, to get benefits, to rise into prominence and power, then therefore he has arranged a huge chair for the minister, which looks prominent among all the chairs on the dais. And in this connection, I would like to tell you that come to know how Sri Maharana tells us about something more about the system. Sri Maharana is a representative of the political people, of the followers, and this is very, you see, LP school students practice the welcome song. Head Pandit, without any poetic activity for 67 years, composed the song. Ironical statement. This is an ironical statement to the students, and you mark how the writer tells you about the composition of this of a poem, a song, a welcome song was there. And when a minister comes, where somebody comes to a meeting, what happens? It so happens this is a custom in India that people have to stand off, and they have to people should children should sing songs in chorus. This happens. This is customary in India. When a meeting takes place, this such things happen, and when there is a welcome song, and the welcome song was composed by an LP school head pandit, and he was he was LP school students practiced the welcome song. So there was a welcome song composed by the village schoolmaster, village headmaster, school headmaster, head pandit he says, and the village school head pandit had written a welcome song, and he also becomes ironical here. The writer Professor Manoj Das very ironically says that the village head pandit had never composed any poems in his life. This is for the first time he has written composed a poem for in honor of the minister. The minister when the minister would arrive, there would be a welcome song that would be sung in chorus, and therefore the writer Manoj Das becomes very much ironical, and his ironical statement that is the person who has never become he had never written a single poem in his life, now for the first time has become immediately important to write poems, and he has written a poem, has written a song, and which is replaced as the welcome song, and he was a village head pandit. And the village school head pandit has written a song which was sung by the LP school students, and the LP school students have practiced the song for long days, and they were ready to present the song, welcome song, when the minister arrives on the stage. And therefore, you see, the village head pandit, without any poetic activity for 67 years, composed the poem, composed the song. And the village head pandit had never during his 67 years, that is of active life, he had never written any song or poem in his life, but this is for the first time he has written a song which is to be sung by the LP school students in the welcome meeting. And therefore this tells the writer is very much ironical here, and he says ironically about the situation, about the characters, about Sri Maharanas, about village. So you see, literal translation of the song, and the literal translation of the song is given by the writer. Although the writer, Professor Das doesn't give the exact thing of the poem or the song, he gives us the literal translation of the song. What is the literal translation of the song? You see, look at it. what the writer means, the meaning of the Chandra, literal meaning. O mighty minister, tell us, do tell us, how do you nurse this long and broad universe? This is the meaning of the song. O mighty minister, minister is very mighty, he is like Almighty, like God. You know, God is Almighty, God is powerful, God is omnipotent. But he says, O minister, you are not only simple minister, ministers are always mighty, powerful. So you are a powerful minister, O mighty minister, powerful minister. Ministers are always powerful. And tell us, please tell us, do tell us, repeats. He becomes he lays emphasis, and he says, tell us, do tell us, how do you know this long and broad universe? How is it possible? How you were able to nurse this long and broad universe? You are the mighty person, you are the great man, and how you are able, please tell us how you are able to nurse, take care of such a big and huge universe. So you are like the master of the universe, you are just like the creator of the universe, and it is only for you that the universe is taken care of. And that is the most important, that is another important that the writer wants to tell you about. And the narrator has questions in mind. You see, as I told you that the writer has projected a narrator in the text, and the narrator actually narrates the text. The narrator has questions in mind. What does the minister eat? What does the minister think? Does he sleep or not? Does he suffer from colic or colds? You see how the writer becomes very much humorous, and he uses humor as a weapon of satire. So, dear students, we would like to tell you about the ironical statement the writer tells you about. There is a question in the mind of the narrator. The narrator faces such questions, and these questions automatically occur in his mind, because he was a boy, and the little boy, as the narrator of the text, imagines actually whether the minister is like other human beings, or he is somebody who is superior to the human beings, and how does he look like, whether he looks like other human beings, whether the minister eats or not, whether the minister sleeps or not, whether the minister does what we do, what we common people do. And if the minister is as good as the common man, why is the minister given more importance? And why is the minister respected like anything? And the child automatically these questions occur to the mind of the narrator of the text, and it's but natural. And here the writer becomes humorous. He becomes humorous, and he uses humor as a part of his satirical writing, and that is another facet of the writer's way of describing the text. So Professor Manoj Das here gives the description of humor as a part of satire. And again, you see, Maharana used 2 hours of afternoon sleep before reception, and he gave it up before last 10 days for reception to examine details of arrangement. You see, and now the writer talks about the condition of Maharana, and Maharana used to 2 hours of afternoon sleep before reception. That is, Sri Maharana couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. He was quite restless, and he tried to make it a successful one. He would try to make the reception a successful one, and therefore he couldn't sleep, and he used much of his time for the reception in the organization, in organizing the reception, and to make it a success. And Sri Maharana, as he was the head of the, as he was the chairman of the reception committee, he was taking care of all these things. The writer wants to tell you about these things, and again you see how he gave it off before last 10 days of reception, and before the last 10 days of the reception he could never sleep at all. Every afternoon 2 hours of sleep was devoted to the towards organizing the ceremony. But just 10 days before the ceremony he couldn't sleep at all. He had to devote all his time and energy towards organizing the reception ceremony for the minister, and he had to examine details of arrangement. As he was the head of the reception team, as he was the chairman of the reception committee, he had to make it a successful one, so that the minister should be pleased with him, and he would give him some benefits, and it will help him, it would help the minister, I mean Maharana, rise into prominence and power. And this was the reason for which Sri Maharana was taking meticulous, he was taking meticulous care for organizing the reception ceremony for the minister. And let's see what the writer tells us something more about the, see, we come to know these words like, let's see, describe these words here, how the writer has made use of these words in the text. Episode, meaning of these words, these are the words he has used. Episode means event. Nurtured means developed. Reputation means fame. Consensus, rational. Generous, willing to give. And these are the meanings. You can note the meanings down, and to know and how to use these words. And you can also use these words in sentences of your own, and that is another important thing what you have to know. Then again, boost, meaning increase. Debut, first appearance. Endeavor, effort. Seamstress, lady tailor. Wrangled, argued. So these are the meanings that we find here. Next is textual analysis of the unit 2 of the text. You see, let's now describe what the writer tells you about the unit 2 of the text here. At last the big day came. So if you would say that what is the big day here? The big day, so your students, the big day, what is the big day? The big day means the reception day, and the reception day has arrived. At last the big day came, and the minister now came in his jeep. The minister came in his jeep, arrived, got down from his jeep. The big day came, and the minister got down from his jeep. And what happens? The profusely garlanded my Maharana. And when the minister came, it is now the reception day has come. The minister got down from his jeep. At the time when the ministers were coming in their jeeps, but nowadays ministers go with a, you know how they go, with carcade and all that. And therefore, you see here the writer tells you that the big day now came, and the minister came in his jeep and got down there, and Sri Maharana was ready with a huge land. And as it happens in these days, when a minister comes, big garlands are ready. The followers keep them in readiness. Big, huge garlands, and the minister was profusely garlanded by Sri Maharana. And Sri Maharana was waiting for the minister's arrival. He was holding a big garland, and he landed him like in profusely garlanded by Sri Maharana, and requested to re-enter jeep, avoid walking, excessive indulgence to propitiate. And this is, he says, the writer tells us about the intention of Sri Maharana and how he requested to re-enter the jeep. It is a kind of excessive indulgence. Excessive indulgence of whom? Excessive indulgence of the followers. And Sri Maharana as the representative, as a sample specimen of the followers in India. And when a powerful person reaches, when the minister comes, it so happens because the followers, they always try to draw the attention of the minister, and therefore the minister was hugely garlanded, was profusely garlanded, and he was also asked by the minister, by the followers, Sri Maharana, not to walk, because ministers should not walk. They should people should walk. Common people should go on foot, but ministers, they are not simple common men. They are uncommon people, and they should go go by jeep, not go. They should not go on foot as common people. It is a kind of what do you say, excessive indulgence of the followers. The followers want to propitiate the minister, to satisfy the minister, to please the minister, in order to get more and more benefits. This is the thing that we come to know about the follower, particularly Sri Maharana, in this part of the text, and how the minister comes. And let's see what again happens here. When the minister saw these things, he just smiled. Although destiny had made him great, he loved to go afoot. And Maharana and his friends looked ecstatic. And this is when the minister was told to go by jeep and not to walk because he might be hot. And the minister just smiled, gave a smile, and he said, although God had made him great, it was his pleasure to go on foot. And therefore, and when the people listened to such things, and the Maharana and his followers, they became very happy and ecstatic to come across such words of the minister. Ministers, are political people. They always try to attract the attention of the people, because people give them votes, and they take care of the people this way by using words, by using sweet words for the people. They try to please them, because they would please them for getting benefits like getting votes and to come to power. And people's behavior, Babu, people started shouting, because people were also told like that. They were trained to say like this, and people shouted. People started shouting. When the minister comes, when a minister comes nowadays, also people start shouting like that. And when Babu Birkishore came as the Minister of Fisheries and Fine Arts, he came to the reception, and he got down from the jeep. People started shouting, Babu Birkishore ki joy, Bharat Mata ki joy. So these were the things that happened in our society. So this is a kind of social and political issue, how political people love to be received with warmth and with more and more pleasure. This is the thing that we come to know about Babu Bir Kishore and the people, Sri Maharana and the people. The elephantine minister floated through the street. This is again a kind of humorous statement. The elephantine minister, this is humor, and how the writer uses humorous words to create humor, and he says the elephantine minister. The minister was like an elephant, a very huge one. Elephantine is the adjective of elephant, and he was an elephantine minister, as huge, as big as an elephant. Ministers are not simple, lean and thin people, because they are very happy, they are very well to do, they are huge people, they eat too much, and they are in power, and they are very huge in size. Therefore, the elephantine minister took pleasure in such things, and he says, and the elephantine minister plodded through the street, plodded and started walking on the street, because he had to go to the reception party. The reception ceremony was waiting for him. And minister, you see here, look at the Sri Maharana's reaction. Minister's long round arm rested on Maharana's shrunken shoulders. And minister's long round arm, huge arm, long round arm rested on Maharana's shrunken, very lean and thin, not so big or fat Sri Maharana, and his arm rested on Sri Maharana's shrunken shoulders. And Maharana was very happy. He was overwhelmed with joy. He was overwhelmed with pleasure. He was overwhelmed with ecstasy, because he was proud of holding the hand of the elephantine minister. And he said, what more, oh my mortal life, could you expect from the world? What more, he said to himself, what more can you expect in life? Because the minister has rested his long round arm on the shrunken shoulders of Sri Maharana, and that is enough. He feels proud of that, because the minister has rested his huge arm on the shrunken shoulders of Sri Maharana. Sri Maharana is very happy, and this is another part of the text that we come to know how the writer makes use of very humorous language, humorous words, and he says another description is also given here. He says he even invalids. Invalids means those who are not able to walk. Invalids also joined the procession. All of them are going in the procession. The minister is also going in the procession. Everybody was there in the procession, and all kinds of people accompanied the minister, and even the invalids, those who are not able to walk, those who are not able to see, those who are not able to hear anything, they are called invalid people. And even invalids had joined in tours, and in the tour, in the procession, even the invalids joined the tours, the procession, and dragging themselves with efforts, and they are dragging themselves, though they are not able to walk, still then they are dragging them, pulling themselves to see the minister and to join the procession of the minister. And they were shouting slogan also. The invalids joined the procession, and they also continued shouting slogans for the minister. And this is another thing that he gives the social condition of our country. And again, it is a picture of a rural kids. The writer, as I told you, that gives the picture, gives a social, economic, and political condition of our country. And here you look at the language, how the writer tells. He gives a picture of the rural kids, and it tells you about the social and the economic condition of the country. And you see, the children also accompanied The children also joined the procession, and the children, what is the condition of the children? How were the children died? They were half naked, pot bellied, uncivilized. The children looked half naked because they only covered they couldn't cover the whole part of their body. They were half naked. Only they used a piece of pants. That's all. And they were half naked, uncivilized people, children, and they were pot bellied. And when he says talks about pot bellied, means he talks about malnutrition. The children do not get enough nutritious food, and therefore they were very much they looked pot bellied, uncivilized. The belly looked like a pot. The bellies looked like pots, and the big belly, huge belly, they had because of malnutrition. They were very weak, but their belly was coming out, and this shows, and they all walked parallel to the minister. As the minister was walking, the children also walked parallel to the minister, and but the minister maintained safe distance from these children and the people. The ministers, political people, they although want to attract the attention of the people, they always want to maintain distance from them. And you see how the minister was given treatment. He was treated with respect. This is how the minister was treated with respect. The treatment was given to him, and how when a minister comes, when a minister comes, he is usually received with warmth, and the reception is given, and the treatment is also made in a grand way, and treated as at Maharana's house. The treatment was done at Maharana's house. Coconut juice followed by lunch, and he was given coconut juice. The minister was given coconut juice to drink, and it was followed by a sumptuous lunch. 20 dishes were prepared for the minister. When a minister comes, and sweetened ghee baked rice, typical about Odia culture, and this is all about this is typical about the Odia culture, and how you see the students when the minister arrives, and a huge reception ceremony for the treatment, and the treatment was to be given to the minister. The minister, for all these things, it was organized at Maharana's house. 20 dishes were prepared for the minister, for the lunch of the minister, and he was given sweetened ghee, coated rice, and all these things. And all these things tell you about the social and political condition of the country, how the ministers want to be treated in a with warmth and pleasure. That is the most important thing the writer wants to tell you about. And the minister's treatment continues. The minister returned to the special cabin, windows open to a big pond and a grove due to summer, and a fresh air lulled him to sound sleep. This is what the writer again tells you, that the minister's treatment continues. The minister retired to the special cabin. There is a special cabin meant for the minister, and he took the sumptuous lunch, and the cabin was prepared for him to sleep, and it is a special cabin meant for the minister, and the minister had to take care of these things. And so, dear students, I would like to tell you about the fact that the minister reaches there with all care, and Sri Maharana is also there to he has engaged himself like anything. And in this connection, I would like to tell you that the minister was taken care of in a beautiful way, and the thing that is described in connection with the minister, and the minister in the reception party was after his sumptuous lunch in the dinner. He has taken the lunch, and 20 dishes were prepared for his for the ceremony. And this is he takes his lunch and all that. Ultimately, we come to know that the minister retired to the cabin. The minister now retired to the cabin. He went to the cabin, and he had a the cabin had a big window that was open towards the pond, and a mild breeze was coming out of that, and he enjoyed the sleep. That was another important thing that we come to know here. So let's see. It is another important thing that the writer tells us about the reception party. And volunteers also posted to see that no noise should disturb the ministerial repose. And volunteers were also posted. Volunteers were also taking care of the minister. They had to see, they had to look into the matter that there shouldn't be any noise that should disturb the minister's repose and rest. When the minister rests, there should not be any sound of any sort, and therefore he was given a great treatment like this. And next, what the narrator did, and separated himself from companions. But in the meantime, we come to know that the narrator of the text separated himself from the entourage, from the people, those who were there, and separated himself from the companions, eager to draw physically closer to see the great man. And the writer wanted to see, the narrator of the text wanted to see the minister, how great he was. Slowly went to the window, and it was the rear side of the house, and the entourage on the opposite side. The entourage was on the opposite side of the cabin, and the narrator was at the back. He wanted to have a close watch or close look of the minister, how the minister looks like, what kind of man he really was. And all these things were described here in this part of the text. And yes, let's see what happens thereafter. In this connection, we would like to tell you about the narrator in this part of the text. The narrator stands close to the window and is disillusioned. Minister snoring as an ordinary man, and he came to know minister's bald head resting on a big pillow. And he saw that minister had a huge head. It looked like an egg. It has egg means it has having as the egg. How should you look at the comparison? It was an egg bald head. The head had no hair. It looked like a piece of, as it looked like an egg, and it is a comparison to make it humorous and all that. A white cap kept on the table. Chandu bounced towards the window and throwing a meaningful glance at him, picked up the cap and disappeared into the group. And Chandu, it was a monkey, and it came leaping into the house and took out the cap and disappeared into the forest. And the narrator's dilemma continues. Didn't shout for two reasons. One, affection for the Chandu who might be punished for his crime. Second reason is two ministers snoring might cease. The minister's story because Maharana has taken a lot of care so that there shouldn't be any disturbance to the snoring and the repose of the minister. And what went around? Minister's pea moved like a butterfly, mumbling mysterious. Maharana stood thunderstruck, literally shaking, sweating like an ice cream, and he was sweating like an ice cream because the minister's cap has disappeared. And again he says, honorable minister doesn't mind the loss of a cap, evidently deep-rooted conspiracy is there, said the PRO, public relation officer. And as he was shaking the narrator, who is to solve the problem. The narrator wanted to solve the problem, signaled Maharana to follow, and he listened with his eyes closed. Maharana's condition, you see, he stood dumb as a moment, eyes closed, wiping his sweat from his forehead, smiled like a patient whose disease diagnosed all right. Maharana's, this is Maharana's condition, how he sweated like a piece of ice cream. And or the narrator told the story how Jhandu has taken away the cap, but the minister, Sri Maharana told him not to expose anything, but the meeting was finally held, and Sri Maharana told that actually the minister's cap was taken by a nobleman in the locality, and the nobleman wanted to preserve it as a memento, as a memory, and therefore he has taken it and he has given some money which has to be used for the developmental work of the people, and the money that he has given has to be used. He has given 101 rupees, and this amount has to be, he wanted that this amount was to be utilized for the benefit of the people. And when this was the thing that we come to know. And now the minister's departure. Now the minister wants to take leave, and when he comes out, rascal Jhandu was seen playing with minister's cap, and he appears and comes to the stage. And yes, dear students, we come to know that this part of the text is very important, because we come to know that Jhandu again appears with a cap on his head, and he comes forward in front of the minister, and everything is exposed. Actually, the minister's cap was not taken away by any nobleman in the locality, and he has never given 101 rupees, but it was taken by Jhandu. It was taken by the monkey. So this is how the writer tells you about the mystery of the missing cap. The story comes to an end. যেটা এসে লাগিয়ে গেল যে খসি পড়লা ওহো